Three, two, one, action. Welcome back to episode 16 of As Seen on Screen. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Gracie, and this is your source for all things entertainment news, reviews, interviews, conversations, and more.
You can find us anywhere you listen or watch your podcasts on Spotify and YouTube. But we have some exciting TIFF news to talk about today. We have great entertainment, gossip, and news out in the entertainment world too. So let's get right into it. Gracie, do you want to kick us off?
Yes, TIFF is coming up pretty soon, actually, and there's a total of 278 films that are showing at this year's festival. Nicole and I were just saying that it's a lot within the first few days, so it's going to be interesting how we plan out our festival
Yeah.
activities.
We say this in the sense that like all the big stars are going to be there in the first few days. Obviously, they're showing the movies many times throughout the 10 days, but everything we really want to see, like stars wise and interviews wise, it's all like right out of the gates.
Yeah, but starting off strong, there's some special anniversary screenings of Whiplash and then Double Happiness. I'm super excited for Whiplash, but I am curious to see if the cast and crew will be in attendance just
Yeah.
because it's not a premiere, it's just a special screening. So I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because like we were just talking about it for Double Happiness. We know Sandra Oh is already going to be at the festival. She has another film that's playing a new film, and she's also receiving one of the tribute awards this year. So it'll be interesting to see, even if there's not like any sort of carpets or Q&A with the film, if she'll be there for the screening of it at all. It's playing on Saturday, September 7th at 1 p.m. at the TIFF Lightbox Theater. So we'll see. To be determined. But let's start off too with some of the new films. What is your top most excited for TIFF film this year? I think I just asked Gracie to pick
You're
a
asking
child or
me like there
something.
isn't, you're asking me like there isn't 278 films to choose from.
I know you have ones you're really excited for though.
I am very excited for the Elton John documentary, I think it is. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's a documentary or just about his life, but I'm excited for that. I'm also excited for On Swift Horses because I love Daisy and I love Jacob. So I'm excited to see the chemistry they have.
Yeah.
But what are you excited for?
I agree with both of those. I'm really excited for On Swift Horses too. I think the one I'm most excited for is We Live in Time, which is the world premiere we're getting. It stars Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. So we already know We Live in Time is coming to theaters, at least in Canada and the US, on October 11th of this year, but we are getting the world premiere at TIFF, which is so exciting. If you've seen the trailer, I think I already cried watching the trailer. Like, I don't know what has happened to me, but I cried the other day at the movies when I saw the trailer for it. But if you haven't seen the trailer yet, the TIFF explanation says since their first encounter, their names are Almut is Florence Pugh's character and Tobias is Andrew Garfield's character, have rarely had a dull moment. A meet-cute car accident giving birth in the unlikeliest of locations, a world-class gastronomical competition. Their time together seems fated to brim with striking events. Very excited for that film. Looking forward to that for sure. I'm also looking forward to seeing Eden with Jude
Hmm.
Law, City Sweeney, and Days Mass. Vanessa Kirby is also in it too. Amelia Perez, I'm really excited to see, and Nora
Yeah,
Buzz from Cannes on both of those films.
I'm
Um,
excited to see Oh Canada for the
yeah,
sole fact that nobody in it is Canadian.
right? Like you're telling me you couldn't have found one Canadian actor or actress for this. When Jordan was on here back weeks ago now, she saw it at Cannes. And she didn't she I think her words were something along the lines of don't watch it for the sole fact that you're looking for something Canadian, because they basically don't bring anything Canadian-esque into it until the end. Um, there's tons of musicians, either documentaries or movies just about their life. We have, like you mentioned, we have the Elton John Never Too Late film. We also have Road Diary, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. We have Andrea Bocelli's Because I Believe. And we also have Paul Anka, His Way. So four right there, tons this year for musicians and things like that. So that's gonna be cool and exciting to see. Um, but yeah. Oh, and Saturday night. I just keep reading the
I
list.
was surprised that you didn't say that one
Oh my
as one of your
goodness.
anticipated ones.
Saturday night is actually one of the ones I'm really, really, really excited for. Um, if you don't know what that one is about, it's about the chaotic 90 minutes leading up to the first ever broadcast of Saturday Night Live on October 11th, 1975. Yeah, which I think will be great. It has an awesome cast. Um, and I think it'll be something different and new. I think that's something I'm most excited for it with it. It just seems like it's a interesting idea to create into a film. So I'm excited to see that one. But yeah, let's talk about the opening and the closing night films. We have Nutcrackers for opening night film, and for closing
Yeah.
night we have The Deb, which is Rebel Wilson's directorial debut, which we have heard quite a little bit of gossip around that over the past few months, and its release and Rebel Wilson's disagreements with her cast and
Yes.
crew.
I don't know. There's just been so much drama about this, and I feel like that's good and bad for the film because obviously you don't want it to like overtake the film, but it has also tarnished the way that people perceive her and this being her directorial debut.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure it'll still be a packed theater,
Oh yeah.
but it will definitely receive a lot of skepticism because people are going to be 10 times harder now with all the drama than they would have been before.
So the description for this film, if you haven't heard anything about it, Maeve, played by Charlotte McKeans, is queen bee at her exclusive private school in the city. But when one of her misguided crusades provoke outrage, she gets not only disciplined by the school, but hashtag canceled by her peers. Mom sends Maeve off to stay with her country cousin in a dusty outback town called Dunburn. Tyla, played by Natalie Abbott, is the exact opposite of a queen bee. Not only does she lack Maeve's privilege, she's unschooled in her cousin's newfound progressiveness. So it's kind of has a bit of musical elements to it in this film. And then it seems like it's somewhat like a comedy.
I
Maybe.
really don't know what to expect from this film.
Yeah.
It seems like, in the nicest way possible, it does seem like every Rebel Wilson movie ever.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I do love her character in the Pitch Perfect movies, but in all honesty, every time I think of Rebel Wilson, all I can think of is that movie that she's in with Liam Hemsworth called Isn't It Romantic?
isn't it romantic? Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when that was just coming out because for some reason they had Megan Trainor on the promotion team, and it was just the strangest thing to me because I was like, what are you doing, girl?
I remember going to see that with my friend for the fact that we were both obsessed with Liam Hemsworth at that time. Yeah, that was quite a film. But anyways, back to TIFF. Um,
Yeah.
that is having its premiere on Saturday, September 14th. There's actually two screenings happening that night. At 6:30, there's a screening at the Princess of Wales Theatre in the Visa Screening Room, and then later on the same night at 8 p.m. at Roy Thompson Hall. But how are you feeling about the opening night film we are getting? Directed by David Gordon Green, Nutcrackers, starring Ben Stiller.
Honestly, I haven't heard much about this one. I think they're not intentionally keeping it under wraps, but I feel like it's one of those ones where they want you to see it before you know what it's about, which is nice. It looks like a family movie,
Yeah.
which I'm excited about, and I love Ben Stiller, so
He's so funny. I like you gotta love his movies. So I think it'll definitely be, like you said, a good family movie and a good way to kick off the festival just on like that high note. Nothing too serious, nothing too, heavy. I think it'll just be a nice light way to get into the festival.
I honestly can't remember the last Ben Stiller movie I watched. I want to say it was probably like Night at the Museum. I can't think of the last time I saw him in a movie.
Yeah, besides rewatching like Zoolander, Night at the
Yeah,
Museum, I don't know.
yeah,
So exciting to see him back on the big screen.
yeah.
But this movie, if you haven't heard, like we said, there's not too much around it, but the synopsis for it says hotshot Chicago real estate developer Michael, played by Ben Stiller, never had time for his family. His sister once said he was incapable of love, but when Michael's sister and her husband have a terrible accident, their house, farm, and four boys become Michael's responsibility. He drives out to his sister's small Ohio town thinking all he needs to do is sign some papers and get back to the city. But it's not nearly that simple. With the parents gone, the boys are practically feral. Until the family service worker, played by Linda Cardinelli, can find them a home, their only guardian is Uncle Mike. Before he knows it, Michael is chasing chickens and providing improvised health class. Desperate to free himself from inherited fatherhood, he's both surprised and thrilled to learn his sister trained her boys in ballet. Can that make them cute enough to foster? That is not where I thought that was going. I had no idea where that was going until I read it.
Yeah, that's kind of reminds me of, like, We Bought a Zoo, but with the
Yeah.
parents being dead. I don't know, some of the movies at TIFF this year are just like completely unhinged. Between that, the Deb, um, Night Bitch is another one that is very unhinged.
Great segue, because I definitely wanted to talk about that next.
Like, I don't know what these movies are on, but you know what? It'll make it interesting to watch.
It makes me worried because for the most part, movies that are like really, really out there, like I enjoy a variety of movies. I like my horror
Hmm.
movies, which for the most part are out there and in themselves. But
Hmm.
movies that are just completely off the wall, I feel like have a very niche audience. You know what I mean? Like no matter
Yeah.
who's in them, whatever, you really have to appreciate the specific subject matter that's being discussed to enjoy sometimes films that are very, very off the wall.
And like a great example of that, not at TIFF, but at South by, was like Y2K and then
Yes.
Sasquatch Sunset
Yes.
were two very niche films
Yes.
that Nicole and I didn't hate, but also didn't thoroughly enjoy.
I would say I love Sasquatch Sunset significantly more than Y2K, and I don't know what
Really?
that says about me.
That's crazy. You need help.
Listen, Y2K I just thought was very
Yeah,
I
but at least I had words and people.
it's true, but it was funny. Sasquatch Sunset was funny. It was just a bunch of Sasquatches grunting the whole time.
Girl, I literally had a nap during that
Okay,
movie.
I'm not saying either of them are Oscar worthy. I'm just saying out of the two, I chose Sasquatch Sunset over Y2K.
Fair enough. I'll respect your decision.
Well, speaking of what you just brought up, Night Bitch, I can't believe, again, I forgot to say this one too. I think my top three are We Live in Time, Saturday Night, and Night Bitch. Those are my three that I'm most excited for. But I am a little skeptical of Night Bitch, but I'm staying optimistic because I love Amy Adams. Um,
Mhm.
but do you want to tell everyone what this one's about?
So the short synopsis says an overworked stay-at-home mom, played by Amy Adams, tries to catch a break, any break, while caring for her rambunctious toddler. Also, she might be turning into a dog. So do with that what you will. Apparently it's based on the best-selling 2021 novel of the same name, and it's an original exploration of motherhood and identity, and is destined to be one of the most talked about films of the year.
I don't doubt that. I don't know for what reason it will be, but I don't actually doubt that sentence.
I'm just very confused as to how she goes from being a mother to like turning into a dog.
I just love the photo they have on the website for this on TIFF. It's two dogs. It looks like Beagle, I think.
That
Anyways,
is a beagle.
they're running and Amy Adams is just charging straight face right in front of the dogs.
Yeah, and like the poster kind of reminds me of Damsel by with
Yes.
Millie Bobby Brown. Like I honestly thought it was the same poster.
It looks like she's gone to like some like she's been through it in that poster. She
She is.
if you didn't know the context of this movie, I would look at that poster and think it's either a horror movie and she's trying to like escape something, she's on the run, or I would think it's some sort of like drama, crime thriller maybe. Again, she's like on the run from something. She just looks dirty and like distressed. I don't know. But anyways, I'm very
It'll
intrigued because I feel like for myself, I could either really like this film or really not. And I'm really, really hoping I like it, but we'll see.
I love Amy Adams. Did not love Disenchanted, but love Amy Adams. So it'll be interesting to see her in a very different role. I can't remember the last time she was in a thriller or horror film, if she ever was.
Yeah, she was in The Woman in
Like
the
I remember,
Window.
Yes.
which was a thriller and mystery, I believe on Netflix, I want to say. Yeah, Netflix. And it's a psychological thriller, also based on the novel of the same name from 2018. And it's basically about Amy Adams. She begins to spy on her neighbors, who are Fred Heschinger, Gary Oldman, and Julianne Moore, and she witnesses a crime in their apartment. And she's trying to tell the police about it, but they don't believe her. There's no proof of it. So, it's all about her trying to crack this mystery and get justice for the crime that she saw that was committed. I actually thought that was a pretty decent film. I enjoyed that film.
Didn't we make a TV show as well with that really long name? And it was
Kristen Bell.
Kristen Bell. Thank you.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
woman in the window in the
Yeah.
house next door or something.
Yeah. I always get those confused because I'm always like, wait. So it was, yeah, also on Netflix. It was called The Woman in the House Across the Street from the Girl in the Window. Commonly abbreviated, it says, as TWITHATSFTGITW, which I'm not sure who's commonly
I have
abbreviating that.
never heard anyone talk about this. Was it a TV show or a movie?
A TV show. This one was a TV show. It was a
Okay,
series.
so I've never heard anyone talk about this TV show except for when it was coming out because everybody was like, this is a ridiculous name. And number two, I've never heard it abbreviated, so I don't know how it is commonly abbreviated.
I'm not sure how that would be any easier than just saying the woman in the house across the street from the girl in the window. But anyways, this is not at all based on the Amy Adams movie. It's not based on the book. It's actually a parody of mystery psychological thrillers. That's what they cast out to make. 8 episodes. It was funny. This one's definitely way more like obviously it's a parody, so this one's a lot more funny and spoofy of the idea, where the Amy Adams one is very much more serious and things like that. And it's a film, so
It's a film.
it's different, but yeah. But anyways, back to Night Bitch. It is having its world premiere on Saturday, September 7th at TIFF at the Visa Screening Room at Princess of Wales Theatre at 9:30 p.m. One other one I wanted to talk about too. There's tons of great Canadian films, either world premieres, North American premieres, whatever it may be, coming to the festival this year. One that I'm really excited about is Matt and Mara, which it also stars Matt Johnson, which you'll know directed and starred in Blackberry a few years back. It also has Munir Al-Shara, Emma Healy, Avery Naiman. And if you haven't heard what this film is about yet, it's about struggling with a new baby and a distracted husband. An academic is more than happy to hang out with a college pal who crashed back into her life. But what sort of relationship are they resuming precisely? So Matt and Mara is directed and written by Toronto Kazik Radzwinski, and it reunites Durag Campbell and Matt Johnson, the stars of the prize-winning drama Anne at 13,000 Feet, which premiered at TIFF in 2019, for another precise, incisive drama. This one's a little different. It's looser and even a little silly, the better to distract you from the heaviness in its heart. So I'm excited about this one. It looks good. You gotta love a good Canadian film at TIFF. You feel like you're right in the middle of it, being downtown, in the entertainment district. Kind of feel right in the middle of these movies when you're watching it down there. So that's one I'm looking forward to seeing as well.
I'm very excited to see Megalopolis
Yes.
because I love Adam Driver, but I also have just heard so much about this film that I want to see it and fully understand what people are talking about.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the short synopsis just says pivoting between political drama, philosophical science fiction, and star-crossed romance, legendary writer-director Francis Ford Coppola's passion project stars Adam Driver as a visionary architect whose utopian ambitions clash with more earthbound demands of a modern city. We'll see. Sounds very like philosophical, but also adds a lot of science fiction into it. So I think it'll be interesting to see how those two mush together.
I'm very excited to see if they're gonna do the whole fourth wall break at TIFF and have that one scene where everyone was talking about at Cannes when Adam Driver is doing like a press conference in the movie at Cannes, and all the showings they actually had someone like a movie theater employee or whoever they were that actually came into the theater and were acting like they were asking questions to Adam Driver and he was answering it in the movie, but you had this guy who was really in your theater shooting out questions, acting like as if he was the one asking him questions in the movie. So I'm very curious to see if they'll do that at TIFF. I feel like they probably will, But anyways, yeah, this was another one Jordan didn't give us a raving review on after her experience at Cannes. But this has been Francis Ford Coppola's passion project for decades now. So I am excited to see what he puts out on the big screen. No matter how I feel, I think it's exciting to see someone as legendary as Francis Ford Coppola bring this to life after so many years of dedicating himself to it. So I'm excited to see it. I agree. This is going to be an interesting one to see at TIFF.
Yeah, I feel like we could go on all day about everything that's going on at TIFF because there is 278 films.
Yes.
Um, but I feel like those are all the ones that we were really looking
Those are like
forward to.
the
I'm trying
big.
to look at it now.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
honorable mentions, we have Life of Chuck with Tom Hiddleston. There is Queer with Daniel Craig coming. I'm looking forward to that one as well. Barry Keoghan is actually in two films this year. He's in Bird and Bring Them Down, two very different films. So those are there as well. Just so many. We could, like you said, we could go on forever. But yeah, we'll be talking about TIFF over the next few weeks anyways. We'll both be there covering the festival, so we'll have lots of reviews to talk about after the festival too on here for you guys as well, and hopefully some interviews too.
It'll be interesting to see how it's different this year compared to last year because obviously we had the strike going on, so there weren't as many actors. Um, so it'll definitely be more competitive, which will be interesting on our part.
Absolutely, but it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
As well as before we wrap up the TIFF conversation, I just want to mention too, there's the TIFF Tribute Awards this year. So Amy Adams is receiving the Tribute Performer Award. David Cronenberg is getting the Jewison Career Achievement Award. Sandra Oh is receiving the Tribute Awards Honorary Chair. Kate Blanchett is getting the Share Her Journey Groundbreaker Award, and Mike Lee is getting the Ebert Director Award as well. So those are happening on Sunday, September 8th at the Fairmont Royal York Hotel.
Keeping up with the Canadian stuff, big news for the 2024 Emmys. Dan and Eugene Levy are going to be the hosts for this year's awards, and I'm so excited about this. I love the father-son duo, but I'm also a huge fan of Schitt's Creek, so I'm excited to see it. I feel like it's gonna be very comical this year, which makes me happy. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this now that we have two powerhouse Canadians hosting such a big award show?
I'm so excited. I think this is awesome. I feel like I'm back with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. Like they just have the
Yeah.
same energy with comedy wise, and their ability, like when we seen Eugene and Dan in projects together, or even I'm thinking that commercial that came out, I believe last year. And I can't remember what the commercial was. I think it was a phone commercial, a cell phone commercial of some sort. Anyhow, they're always so funny together. They bounce off each other really well with their jokes. So I think this will be great. Award shows have been rocky for quite a few years, I would say.
Hmm.
Hosting wise, whether it's just been a little too serious with their commentary, whether there were punches being thrown. So I think it'll be very exciting to have these two specifically hosting the Emmys. And as well, I mean, as Canadians, you have to be excited for this. That's a huge deal for Canada to have two Canadian hosts at the Emmys. So I think it's awesome. And I'm very excited to see how they do. I'm sure they'll do great.
I'm wondering if they're gonna bring out their Schitt's Creek co-stars.
I'm hoping they do. I feel like they might. But
Iconic. I love them.
I tried to get into Schitt's Creek and I never have. My parents and my sister are a huge fan of the shows, and they're all and Modern Family is like one of my favorites. And they're like, Nicole, how have you not gotten into Schitt's
It's
Creek? It's basically
literally the same.
Canadian Modern Family. And I've tried, I think I tried a few years ago and I just didn't get into it. I think now I've seen like clips on TikTok and stuff like that. But I think I might try to get into it because I know it's funny. I mean, I've seen clips and it's hilarious. I just never got into the show. But yeah.
I just got into it like last year, and I think you have to get through the first half of the first season before everything starts to get going, especially with the jokes and stuff. Because, as any show goes, you do have to set up like a plot and introduce the characters and figure out who everybody is. So, yeah, just make it past the first half of the first season and you can do it.
I was just watching actually the clip on TikTok yesterday of I'm a little Alexis dance. I don't know what the show
Yeah.
is. I haven't seen the show, but she's like from my award-winning series.
Yeah, I see so many clips on TikTok, and that was actually what made me go back and try and watch it again. And second time around, so much more successful watching it.
I'm just overall very excited for this choice with Danny and Eugene. And I'm very excited to see it. I'm very excited now to watch this award show as a whole, which is good.
Keeping on the topic of TV shows, bummer news for anyone who's a fan of this series. I know my sister was heartbroken when I broke the news to her, but My Lady Jane has been canceled after one season at Amazon Prime. And I'm honestly really surprised by this because streaming wise, it did great. Fan wise, it was everywhere. Like people were creating fan accounts, they were posting about how much they love this show. My TikTok edits were literally only this show. So I'm shocked that Amazon Prime canceled it. And the cast is apparently shocked too, because a lot of them posted like, thank you so much. They need to take time to kind of let the news sink in. But yeah, I'm bummed. I didn't watch it yet, but I am going to watch it. But I feel like I'm going to be even more disappointed when I watch it, knowing it's not coming back.
What you have is what you get, and that's it. There's gonna
Literally.
be nothing else. I thought it was very interesting what they did with the show too. Streaming the first episode on TikTok, you could actually, I don't think you can now, but when, oh, I haven't checked, maybe you can. But when this first released on Prime, they actually had the first episode playing on TikTok so you could watch it, which I thought was a very smart marketing move of them because obviously it tried to get people in. If they wanted to watch past episode one, they'd have to get Prime. So I thought that was very smart on their part and very interesting. I don't think they've done anything like that on TikTok, and it's smart to use that type of platform to get viewers. So I'm very surprised actually too by this because, like you said, it did pretty well. I heard about it. I didn't watch it either, but it was everywhere for the first like 2 weeks it was out. I kept hearing about it. So yeah, too bad.
Well, maybe it'll be one of those ones that like gets renewed in a few years. They just decide to bring it back. Like they did that with it wasn't on Prime, but like Manifest
True.
was canceled and then all of a sudden they were like,
Now we're gonna bring it back for you.
yeah, so there is hope, just very slim hope.
You know, I have to mention this just because we were just talking about it and I was just on Instagram between it. And A24 just posted the first trailer for Y2K. And the trailer is dropping tomorrow, which we're recording this on August 19th. So the trailer is dropping August 20th, which will be 2 days after or 2 days before we release this episode. So you guys will have been able to see the trailer by the time we release this episode.
That's so funny. We are so good.
That has happened quite a few times.
Every week we do something and then 5 minutes later it comes out.
It creeps me out. I don't know how that happens.
We should have like a manifestation segment where we just say
Yeah,
stuff and then see if it happens.
literally, we need to do that. I actually do kind of like this poster. It's a plug, and there's blood
With
dripping
knives.
off of the plug. Yeah. Which once you see the trailer, you understand why, because you might not necessarily realize what this movie's about. It is, I want to say it's like a slasher film because it's not really a horror film. It's not a thriller
Yeah, it's
slasher.
a
It's a slasher.
slasher.
So I think that's kind of clever of them, actually. I think that's funny once you get the concept of the movie. And if you see the movie, you understand that tie to the plug even more too. So, anyway, sorry, I had to bring that up because I thought that was funny since we just talked about it.
No, and I mean, perfect segue into another film that got its first official trailer and poster released. That was also a premiere at a festival. Woman of the Hour, which is Anna Kendrick's directorial debut, will officially have its theatrical release on October 11th. I know Nicole has been anxiously awaiting this one, um, since she saw it at TIFF last year. I did not see it at TIFF last year because I just couldn't get a ticket. And I really want to see this because I've heard nothing but fantastic reviews on it.
We're gonna have to go see it together because you'll be back home at this point, and I have to take you because this is like you said, I am so excited for this film. It was this and Daddio were my two favorites from TIFF last year, so I'm very, very, very excited to see this again. It actually does it's so it's a It's a period crime thriller, is what it's classified as. And it actually does follow, it's a semi-true story. It follows the real-life serial killer Rodney Alcala and his time on the dating game in 1978. So the dating game was a real reality like game show, television show that aired in the 60s to the 80s from ABC. Basically, you'd have one woman come onto the show and there'd be three guys behind she couldn't see it, they were behind a cover, and she would ask them questions, and based on how they answered the question, she would pick one guy without seeing him, knowing who he was. It was filmed in front of a live audience, so they could see these guys, but just the woman on the show could not. And yeah, so basically, Rodney Alcala in 1978 went on the show. He was a serial killer and a sex offender as well. Obviously, he was not caught at this time, and Anna Kendrick plays Cheryl Bradshaw, and she's a struggling actress in Los Angeles, and her agent finally gets her to go on this dating game show, and she doesn't want to because she doesn't go on dates too much. She's focusing on a career, and she's kind of bummed about it at this point because it's hit a dead end for her. So she ends up going on the show, and it's just about those interactions and what happens there. It also flash forwards and flashbacks. So the present time in the film is 1978. It does flashback multiple times throughout the film to different females that Rodney Alcala had preyed on. So it was very well made. I loved how she made this. I loved the focus on the dating game, but then also getting some background on him and the type of person that he was and how he really reeled these women in. So it was very interesting, and I can't wait for you to see the ending of this film because they do like little quotes and stuff at the end and like facts about him. And there's one where it just like the very last one they show on the screen before it just goes black. It like really pulls at your heartstrings. It was like a really great way to end it. So overall, I'm very excited for this, and I love the poster. I think the poster is genius, and her eye, you can see him like walking towards her. So sorry, I'm just nerding out about this film now, but very excited. Like Gracie said, it comes out October 11th in theaters.
I'm nodding like I know what goes on in this movie. But yeah, I'm excited to watch it. I've heard nothing but great things, so it's definitely been on my watch list since TIFF. Um, I'm sad that it didn't have more screenings at TIFF, but
It only had like three screenings. I think I happened to make it to a press and industry screening.
I couldn't get tickets to any of them, which made me so
Yeah.
upset. But continuing with movie news, going back to my love, Nicholas Galitzine, there's been,
You haven't tied him in a few weeks, so I'm
I
glad we're
know.
finally bringing him back.
When I was typing this out, I was like, wow, I really fell off the bringing him into this every week.
Gracie, come on. You
I
gotta be
know, I
better.
feel bad. Speaking of which, totally off topic. Did you see that he's now doing ads for Bumble?
Yes.
I saw it and I was like, this is so random, but it also works so well.
Gracie's in a happy, committed relationship, but Gracie's also like, damn, maybe I need to join Bumble now.
I was like, if he's on Bumble, we might have to look into that. He is obviously going to be starring in Masters of the Universe, and now we have an update to the cast. Camila Mendes will be playing Tila, I want to say. How do you feel about this?
I'm very excited to see these two in a film together. I think it'll be interesting. Like you said, I don't know the story that well, so I can't speak to like the content of it, but I think this is a good fit. She seems excited about it when she posted on Instagram, her casting announcement. So I think it's good. I always think when an actor and actress is passionate about what they're doing, it's always going to be much better.
I think it was KJ Appa, her Riverdale co-star, posted something along the lines of my two favorite people, and he put Camila and Nicholas. And I was like, I didn't know KJ Appa knew this man, but I love the support.
But there we go. And it doesn't come out for 2 years still, basically. It comes out in 2026. So there is time. There is time. But I feel like you'll be excited about this next announcement since you are a big fan of the show. So, what do we have next on the list?
Bridgerton gave a casting update as well. Bridgerton has cast Erin Ha as Sophie Beckett, which is Benedict's love interest in season 4, because we recently found out that Benedict is going to be the Bridgerton that we follow in season 4. And everybody has been pleasantly happy with this casting announcement. Again, I didn't read the books, so I'm not sure if there's a specific way this character is supposed to look, or act. So I just think that she looks very enthusiastic in this from what she's posted. Um, and it'll be nice to see Benedict with somebody who's not married. Thumbs up all around. Have you watched the new season?
No,
Girl.
I'm so behind on TV. I'm just so very behind on TV in general.
And I know you didn't watch the movie I told you to watch last week.
I was gonna watch it last night when I came home, and I just was too tired and I didn't. But yeah, Lion King 1.5 didn't happen this week, but maybe next week. There's hope.
Maybe. That's also what you said about like Maxton Hall and
TV, I'm telling you, I can't.
she has time to go see new movies, just not new TV shows or old movies.
Priorities. I mean,
I mean, if you're up for new movies, at least we'll know that you'll watch this next one, Nicole.
Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out story. The third movie in the franchise just wrapped up filming. Ryan Johnson posted on Instagram and on Twitter the other day, and that's a wrap on Wake Up Dead Man. Went so fast, best crew, incredible cast. This was a really special shoot, and I can't wait to put it together. So this was filmed just over 2 months. On June 10th, he posted a shot from their first day on set on Twitter as well, or X, I should say. Sorry, not Twitter, on X as well. It
And
was
Nicole and I were very underwhelmed by
we
Daniel
were
Craig's hair.
I was really confused about that, and I still am, to be honest, but that's okay. Um, but it's expected to release sometime next year, 2025. Glass Onion, the second movie, actually premiered at TIFF 2 years 2 years ago, so maybe there's hope that it premieres at TIFF next year. That would be very exciting. But in case you actually did need a refresher of who's in the cast, confirmed, um, Daniel Craig is reprising his role as Benoit Blanc. We also have Josh Brolin, Kaylee Spaney, Daryl McCormick, Andrew Scott, Jeremy Renner, Mila Kunis, Kerry Washington, Glenn Close, and Thomas Hayden Church. So as usual, huge cast, very stacked, as the other first two movies are as well. And yeah, that's kind of all we know so far. We don't know too much about the plot of the film, what's included in it. So, but I'm sure we'll find out a little bit more soon since filming has wrapped. So
Mhm.
stay tuned for some information surely coming on that. What is your watch of the week, Gracie? Keeping on track of movies. What is your watch of the week?
I have a hunch that me and you have the same weekly watch.
I do too.
Um,
I'm having that hunch too.
should we just go one, two, three and do it?
Ready and 1, 2, 3. It ends
It
with
ends with us.
us. Difference here is that I've not read the book and Gracie has read the book. So I feel like we have some different perspectives on it in that sense.
I want you to go first so I can hear your review because I watched it with a group of people, half of which had read the books, or yeah, books. There's two books, and half the people who had no idea what they were walking into. So I'm curious from an outsider's point of view how you took the movie.
Okay. I did know, like, I read like the first three chapters of this book, so I knew the beginning, and then I knew, like, obviously the overall theme of it with domestic abuse in the film. I had heard some scenes specifically, like, from the book, whether it be on like TikTok, like months ago, people like wanting to see certain things in the movie, so I knew some things to expect. Overall, I think they did a great job of displaying the sensitive content that's in this film. I think they did a great job representing that on the screen as sensitively as they could. Um, I liked the flashbacks and the flash forwards to the present timeline. I liked the transitions actually. I thought they did a really good job of seamlessly transitioning between them. I thought some of them were interesting. My one thing about the film, which I know something you'd said to me, which I just happened to notice as just like watching the movie with not knowing the book, but I did think they rushed through some scenes that they needed to linger on a little bit longer with some scenes, especially with the sensitive content. I felt like it kind of just dragged you from like you wanting to cry because something horrible is happening on the screen, and then 2 seconds later, it's either flashing back to a happy moment or they've just moved right on ahead to something next. I also think that some of the important like life moments of these characters in the film, they kind of just like really flashed forward. You saw nothing, and it all of a sudden you're assuming it jumped from like 6, 7 months in time that it didn't indicate how long it's been. But you know from other things going on that it's clearly been some time. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a good movie. Like I did enjoy it just as someone watching the movie, not knowing the book. And yeah, that was just my one thing that I felt it was very packed and they were trying to put a lot into this 2 hours, which I think they did okay on, but it did feel rushed certainly at some points. What is your thought?
I enjoyed the books. I mean, obviously, there's only an extent you can enjoy this story without seeming like you're a
Yeah,
weird person,
this is true.
because it does cover very sensitive topics. I think it was very well written. It is based off of her mother's life, roughly. She couldn't put in everything. So I think in that way, she was very open to what she needed to be sensitive about in the book and as well in the film. That being said, I do feel like this film was very rushed. It did not feel like 2 hours, it felt like an hour. And I was just very unimpressed with the way the storyline went, because obviously you can't fit everything that happens in the book into this, nor do you want to, because that would be a very depressing movie. But it was just the parts that they did pick, they changed from the book and made it different, which, okay, whatever, because everything is changed for a reason. Like Atlas's restaurant, they changed the name of that. It was originally Bibs, which meant best in Boston, and then they changed it to Roots because they talked about trees, which whatever. But that's why the first big scene was changed from Lily having a magnet that says best in Boston to finding his phone number in her phone. But acting wise, Justin Baldoni gave a great performance. The guy that plays Atlas, I'm blanking on his name right now. Brandon Brandon gave a phenomenal performance as Atlas. Like he has been my favorite character, but seeing him live was definitely a key point. No hate to anyone who plays the older version of these characters, but the younger kids absolutely killed this movie. Like,
Yes.
I wish it was just them, because they had my entire heart. And those were the points where I was the most captivated, because they gave such amazing performances for the things that they were given. Also, Isabella sounds so much like Blake. It's scary.
Yes. They have the exact same voice. They look, especially with the red hair, so similar. It's crazy.
Like, I thought it was Blake doing a voiceover at first, and then I realized it was actually her voice. But yeah, definitely some crazy stuff going on with that casting. It's supposed to be a very heartfelt and depressing movie. It went by so fast, as you were saying, that as soon as you were getting upset or like teary-eyed, it would move on to somehow being a completely different part of the movie. And I
Yeah.
also didn't really love the fact that the first maybe 30-40 minutes of this film were like a comedy rom-com. Like that just really threw me off. And it's definitely not what happened in the book, but it's also not the type of material that you want to have this really extremely lighthearted start, and then it just completely goes downhill for the rest of it. And I also did not like the ending at all.
I think the ending we could have done without the last scene. I
It
think,
was just, it kind of took the characters that you know in the book and completely changed them, because it was seen as they come together, they come back together and meet each other right away, and they've completely forgotten about everything that's happened. But it took them literally almost a whole two books to even come close to each other with the situation that Blake Lively's character was in. Other than it being too fast and not being like directly from the book, I do think the performances were fantastic. I think the writing was very mindful of everything they had to talk about, while also being respectful to people who may be watching it and have gone through those same thing or similar things. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they make the second book into a movie,
Yeah.
especially with all the drama that's going on now, because Justin's production company, Wayfair Studios, does own the rights to both of the books, and he has said that he doesn't want to direct the next one. So
Yeah, I was gonna ask you what your thoughts on that were. So anyone who hasn't been following this drama, basically, um, from what people have speculated and from rumors, nothing's really totally directly confirmed by any of the leading parties here, but none of the cast and Colleen Hoover follow Justin Baldoni on Instagram anymore. They unfollowed him a while ago. That didn't happen just now. That's been for a little while. Then when it came time for the premieres and the press tours, Justin was not seen with any of them on carpets. He basically was on his own. He has not done any type of interviews or junkets with any of them. He's done interviews on his own, but not with Blake Lively, Branton, Colleen, any of them. Then there's been rumors that a rep from Blake Lively basically told, I believe, TMZ that she felt that Justin kissed her too long on set, and some other things in that nature, basically trying to tear down like his character that people would assume that he has. Not
I'm
great.
very mixed. I'm very mixed on this. I mean, before all this drama came out, I did absolutely love Blake Lively, but there's so much proof against her right now that
Those
it's hard to
interview clips.
ignore.
Yeah, if you've seen the interview clips that have also been circulating from past movies that she's done, and even from interviews she's been doing for this movie, particularly you might have seen the interview resurface, which I'm forgetting the journalist's name, but basically Blake Lively had just announced publicly one of her pregnancies with Ryan Reynolds, and it had just been publicly announced, so it was public knowledge, and the journalist basically congratulates her on her little bump for the baby that she just announced, and Blake Lively looks back at her and just goes, "Oh, congratulations on your little bump." And there's some other things that happen in that interview, and plenty of other interviews that have now surfaced as well that don't speak to great character on her part either.
I love Justin Baldoni, not just for his work in Jane the Virgin, but 5 Feet Apart was one of the best movies that I'd watched in a long time, and one of the only movies that I have physically like sobbed throughout. Um, and I saw a TikTok of a girl who was brought on to that set to talk um about her struggles with the disease that 5 Feet Apart follows, and how Justin brought her in to make it more realistic and relatable for people who might be struggling with it, but also so he wasn't rude or insensitive to anybody. And she had nothing but good things to say about him. Obviously, this is just one example, but I just can't see him inconsiderate about something like this when his entire press run has just been constant support for survivors, giving links, giving men links on how to help. Like, I don't know. It's a weird position that they put not only the cast and crew in, but the public. So
Yeah, it is weird. That's the other thing that I've found very interesting, and a lot of people have brought up, like you're just kind of saying. Blake Lively and Colleen Hoover for this press tour have very much been upbeat about the movie, and there's clips that,
grab your florals or grab your
yeah,
friends, wear your florals.
basically like come to the theater to see this movie with your friends and dress up in bright colors. And Justin Baldini's message doing his interviews, there was a specific one on Good Morning America, I believe, and one of the journalists asked him what you want men to take away from this film, and he basically talked about how he wants men as a whole to stop blaming women for not leaving um, relationships of domestic abuse and that kind of nature. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Two
Who
different
knows?
sides of the scale. And I
Who
love
knows what
that
happens?
um
But
I kind of see, have you seen the clips of Brandon just reacting to a bunch of things that were said? Bless
yeah.
his soul. He's trying to stay out of the drama, but his face is saying other things.
His face is not hiding how he feels.
Yeah. But
But
yeah,
yeah,
it was a good film, but nothing groundbreaking and definitely could have been 10 times better. I
Yeah.
feel like, and I'm not trying to be a hater, but the worst performance in that entire ensemble was definitely Blake Lively. I don't know. I didn't feel like the character was learning. I felt as though she was trying to make like jokes out of it.
But throughout the film, it just was. I know a lot of people are saying that she was the real star of this film, and obviously her character is.
Yes.
Acting wise, there a lot of people are saying she was the kind of star to watch in this film. I don't know. I would say that Justin and Brandon definitely I felt were better performance wise.
I'm just sticking with the younger two. They are going
Yes, that's
places.
true. That is true. The younger two are fantastic. That is our official reviews on It Ends With Us. Still in theaters now. You can catch that in theaters. Moving on from that, what is your song of the week?
My song of the week. I'm gonna do what you did last week. My
Oh,
song of the week is an album of the week.
love it.
Megan Trainor released her deluxe album of Timeless, and it features 4 new songs, which is a pretty good amount. Like if you think about other deluxe albums, sometimes it's only 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So I'll take 4. I'll take 4.
I'll take it.
Um, it features Bite Me, Make a Move, Booty featuring Paul Russell, and Criminals. When I tell you, I have been waiting for Criminals to come out for at least 4 years now. Like, I went back on my Instagram when I used to make edits about this song, hoping that she would release it. I'm so excited she did. Deluxe album slaps. I don't think there's a bad song on this album. I could also be biased because I love her. So, what
Yeah.
was your song of the week, Nicole?
I think I'm gonna go with another one from Boots and Hearts, another artist that I discovered, which I was probably the only one in the room who didn't know this guy. His name's Cam Galloway. He is a local young Canadian country singer. He took the stage. He performed in the Emerging Artist Showcase this year at Boots and Hearts. He was one of the top 8 finalists. And when I tell you, when he went on stage, I don't know if it was a group of people that came with him, like his friends, supporters, or if they were just a bunch of people in the crowd. I think it was just a bunch of people in the crowd screaming at the top of their lungs for this guy. And I'm like, who is this guy? So Cam Galloway, his name is, and two of his songs that I love that he performed are Repeat and Sober You. He has a great voice, and he definitely sounds very mature in his voice when he sings, and you can tell that through the songs. But yeah, I've been missing out clearly because there were a lot of people that were very, very, very excited to see Cam take the stage at Boots this year. But yeah, that is my 2 songs of the week.
We're reaching that point of the episode where it is near the end. So let's talk about some upcoming releases. Nicole, you want to start us off strong?
Yeah, sure. There's some great films coming to the theater this weekend to pretty much cap out a summer movie release season, which I'm very sad about. We're hitting the end of it, but there are really great movies coming this fall and the winter too. So it's okay. Summer movie season may be coming to an end, but there's still great ones to look forward to. But this summer movie season holds a special place in my heart. Um, but first off, on this Friday, August 23rd, we have Blink Twice, which is Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut, which I'm very, very excited. If you haven't heard what this film is about, when tech billionaire Slater King, who is played by Channing Tatum, meets cocktail waitress Frida at his fundraising gala, he invites her to join him and his friends for a dream vacation on his private island. I mean, who wouldn't want that? Hello. Wild nights soon blend into sun-soaked days, but when strange things start to happen, Frida must uncover the truth if she hopes to make it out alive. So it's a psychological thriller film, again starring Channing Tatum. Naomi Ackie is the one who plays Frida. It also has Christian Slater, Simon Rex, Adria Jonah, who we saw earlier this year in Hitman with Glenn Powell. I think it'll be very interesting. I'm very intrigued to see like the kind of psychological effects behind this film are, like what the storyline is going to be there.
I don't know if anything will top his Gambit performance this summer,
He
but
can try.
maybe it'll be a close second. But yeah, also in theaters on August 23rd is The Crow, which features Bill Skarsgård and FK Twigs. And it follows soulmates Eric and Shelley, who are brutally murdered when the demons of her dark past catch up with them. Given the chance to save his one true love by sacrificing himself, Eric returns to seek bloody revenge against the killers, going between the worlds of the living and dead to put a right to the wrong things. A little bit of a romance, a little bit of a thriller.
Thick, like, supernatural elements we got going on here.
Yeah, I believe it is based off of comic, I want to say, or a graphic novel. I'm
It
not
is. So there
sure.
was a film of the same name in 1994, The Crow. Then it became
Mhm.
a film series with three more films. So this film this year is actually the fifth in the franchise. It's the second film after the 1994 film to directly adapt the 1989 comic book series of the same name by James O'Barr. Yeah, I'm excited for both these films. So good weekend to go to the theater. Over on Netflix, if you don't have a chance to run to the theater this weekend, we have the new film coming out called Incoming. It is about four freshmen in high school who get ready for their first school party. They're preparing themselves for something unfamiliar and terrifying. So it is a comedy. It's a raunchy, comedy. Stars Mason Thames, Isabella Ferreira, Lauren Gray, Rafael Alessandro, Raymond Reed, and more.
Keeping it with the theme of August 23rd, music-wise, we have Sabrina Carpenter's new album, Short and Sweet, which is coming out. I am thoroughly excited for this one because
Yes.
she's been releasing nonstop bangers for this album. And I'm excited to see what it sounds like as a whole, especially now that she's reached, I don't want to say a more mature part of her life, but it's definitely different than the Disney albums she had and different than the Heartbreak album we had with Emails I Can't Send. So I'm excited to see the growth and hear some more iconic music.
Yeah, and it's obviously ahead of her tour, titled the same, Short and Sweet, which is kicking off in Columbus, Ohio on September 23rd of this year. And last on the list for this week, one I think both of us are very excited for, Only Murders in the Building Season 4 hits Hulu and Disney Plus on August 27th. I am very, very excited for this. Again, we've talked about the cast. Every season, it just gets better. They just outdo themselves every single year. So very excited to see where this takes them this year.
Yeah, I'm so excited for it. I completely forgot it was coming out this soon. I'm ready to binge it all.
Absolutely. This, like, first, I think I talked about this, but the very first time I watched the first season, I binged it all in one night. It was just done. It just I never stood a chance.
It's one of those shows you can just watch and it keeps you on the edge of your seat. And
Oh yeah.
the cast is amazing, so I'm excited. And it has Eugene Levy, who's also hosting the
Yes!
Emmys, so
We love him. He's everywhere this year. It's so
he
exciting.
is.
Well,
But
that brings us to the end of this week's episode. So as always, thank you so much for tuning in to As Seen on Screen. I'm Nicole.
I'm Gracie, and you can listen or watch us wherever you get your podcasts on Spotify or YouTube.
We will see you same time, same place next week. Have a good week, guys.
Bye.